Sasha, I need you to cut it. Cut my music, Sasha. Cut it. Thank you. I'm in no mood right now. I got no coffee, guys. I had to do some notes earlier for another project, and I downed both coffees, man. My medium extra and my vanilla latte. They were both decked out. Before you knew it, we got to move on with the day. It's still fairly early. I have to do this review now. It would have been nice to be live with you guys, but I have to do this now. There's a small chance I can go live later on for like a half an hour maybe, if there's any big cycle stories in the pro wrestling world. And there's some other things that I would like to talk about a little bit as well. Maybe there's a chance a little bit later, but it's early right now. We do have to get more coffee. I can't have Sasha go get that now because I need her here, because if things go off the track, she needs to put it back together, technically speaking. So there's either way, but hopefully this doesn't take that long, man. This show, Monday Night Raw, is just lost. It's lost. I mean, we could easily say it's a little better than Vince McMahon. I will agree with that. How's that, right? I'll meet those people in the middle. How much better? Man, it's very minimal, guys. I mean, we got some people back that Vince McMahon kicked to the curb. We got some names back, so some things feel a little better in that aspect. And then the show itself, I just don't know. None of these matches are landing. The stories are just so sad. I don't even know what the stories are. There's really no stories. MIz and Dexter, when I think stories, that's the only thing that comes to mind, and it just got so bad. So bad. The United States Championship has been the kind of centerpiece of Raw for the last several weeks, but you would think that's a good thing, right? They're promoting the U.S. title, but no, we know it's being done because the world titles, both Universal World Championship, it's being tied up right now, and the dude never shows up to Monday nights. So they're trying to make that like the world title, and it's failing, man. These matches, even though that on paper they're good, right? Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, Ali, Rollins, and I don't know, maybe Bobby Lashley does it for you guys, Bobby and Seth. But there's no reasoning or into it for BC. There's nothing like captivating me. It's not a television show. It doesn't feel like it, and it should be. It should be an entertaining show. Right? Instead, it's just like the U.S. title's on the line and these two are going to collide. And that's fine if this is like boxing or MMA or your local karate competition. But this is scripted entertainment. It's pre-planned. It's rehearsed. It's entertainment, man. Without a storyline, without a reason for your audience to give a shit, you got nothing. You have 100% of nothing, and these shows are just not landing. Maybe it's just BC, I understand. Maybe I'm an old school fan that's just, I'm not with the new bangers. People have substituted storylines for bangers. I'd rather the storyline. I'd rather people selling in their matches, in-ring psychology. I've said this a million times. This show was just another one that just did not land. Now, to wrap up a cold open here, before I get into the actual review, I have to discuss the elephant in the room, right? The last 7 days, the whole wrestling world has been harping on this Austin Theory botch by Triple H, right? And it was a botch. Everybody, thankfully, that's the one thing we all do agree on, right? It was a botch. Everyone knows that, no matter what side of the fence you're on, even if you're defending Triple H, everybody admitted that should have been done a billion times better. That was never how this should have went down if you're trying to reset somebody, right? You're trying to do a complete character overhaul. You're trying to correct Vince's wrongs. Whatever excuse came up, and some of that is absolutely true, where they wanted to go a different route. But what happened on last Monday? I mean, the botch of Triple H's fucking career. And I hope it never gets any worse than that for him. Because Triple H had to learn the hard way. He learned it last night at the start of the show. We're about to go over that. Wait till you guys hear how the show started while Triple H was at Gorilla listening to all of it unfold. And I've never heard that, man, in all the years that I've been watching pro wrestling, and all the mistakes that Vince McMahon has made. they've never been to the level, or at least the whole wrestling world didn't think it was to the level. I could think of a few things that matched it, or up there anyway. But where the whole wrestling world unanimously said, like, that is a botch that can never happen again. And I've never seen an entire crowd stand up and chant what they chanted to Triple H. Unfortunately, to Rollins as well, because he was in the ring at the time. We're going to go over that in the actual show review. But we all admit that was a botch of all botches, and it can never happen again. And then we start to divide a little bit on the word buried, right? Like people like BC, we had no choice but to call it what it is. But it wasn't just Monday. Theory was already buried. But there was another half that said, no, nobody's buried. He's going to come back better than ever. Well, I mean, that's the hope is that you're resurrected from the burial at that point. There's no question. The only options are you're going to continue to be buried and then you're booted out of the company, or they're going to try to resurrect you. Either that's a reset or they keep you the same, but they give you a mega push. But we've seen resurrections before. But being buried doesn't mean that you can't come back, right? Being buried doesn't mean that there's the old term buried alive. Even WWE used to have an event, buried alive, right? Well, they would get buried in the event and they would be back the next fucking day. Now that's more storyline wise, obviously. But the point is, just because you're buried doesn't mean you can never come back. I think wrestling fans don't know the word buried in terms of pro wrestling. The exact definition, I got to take everybody to school here. The definition, and let me get it out right. No, this is not your fault, Sasha. I didn't know that. Sasha's probably thinking she should have queued this up. No. I just want to give you guys the exact definition, man, so you guys know like where we stand. Now, the term in pro wrestling, buried or burial, is when a wrestler's stock begins to fall by having him or her, I'll add that in there, consistently lose matches or placed in bad storylines. I'm gonna say that again, guys. Because this whole week, people were just grazing right over the actual botch. And everybody was just arguing over, was Austin buried or not? Because I think people think that just because you're buried means you can never come back. And that's wrong because he's being reset. So you're all wrong. No, guys, I'll say it again. Buried or burial in pro wrestling is when a wrestler's stock begins to fall by having him or her consistently lose matches or placed in bad storylines. Now, if you're wondering how many matches Austin has lost in his last 50, let's just go back to 50. Guys, he has lost 44 out of 50. Under Triple H, roughly 20 matches at least. It may be a little bit more, actually. But that was not just under Vince McMahon. While everybody said, by the way, he was Vince's golden child, Vince had him fucking lose a bunch too. He goes over to Triple H and he loses even more. And when it was all said and done, the last 50 matches, this kid has won 6 matches. Out of 50, he has lost 44. Even with the reset last night, he actually lost to Dolph Ziggler via DQ. Now everybody will graze right over that, right? That's because they're building up the storyline even more, so the loss doesn't mean anything, BC. But it does. It absolutely does. Especially when he gave the reason that he gave, and then he looks at Dolph like he can't even fucking beat him with 4 A-Town downs. And somebody has to explain to Kevin Patrick what an A-Town down is, by the way. Hopefully I'll go over that more later. But sadly, man, he was being buried. You're not going to tell me 7 months ago that this was the plan all along, when he started losing all these matches and he was under Vince, or when Triple H took control 5 months ago, that this was the plan all along. No, it wasn't. They really didn't know what to do, and they were hoping that all these losses would just make people kind of forget about Money in the Bank, and then they can easy peasy take it off of him and try a reset. And what happened is what happened, obviously, and tragically. And it was cool to see the whole wrestling world stand up and say, that's wrong, bro. We're going to take the reset. We hope you do this correctly, but that is not the way to get there. because that's what Triple H learned last night, especially with the crowd chanting what they chanted. He learned, this whole week was a learning experience for H. Like, how you get to a place you want to be, where you want to be, how you get there matters just as much. You know, you have to do everything correctly or you're going to baffle your audience in the process. Even if you book the guy or girl in question, if you book them to the moon afterwards, great. I mean, that's the least you can do for embarrassing them. But it's not going to make people forget, right? BC will never, for an eternities, I will never forget this cash in, and that's not a good thing, guys. It's not going to help Austin's stock. I mean, they had to move mountains last night. They had to put this kid in 3 fucking segments. They had to have him grovel in weird excuses. They had him lose a fucking match. And then they had him come out the end of the night and hold up the same fucking title that got him into this mess. Because the other champion can't show up to the red brand. It's all just a fucking clusterfuck right now. It's all a mess. Triple H learned a fucking harsh but valuable lesson last night. How you get to the place that you want to be matters just as much as the destination. The journey matters just as much as the destination. But I hope we can put to bed the buried talk, man. Yes, he was buried, man. It doesn't mean... I think some wrestling fans think that it just is when somebody just has it out for you, the promoter, you know? Because we see that a lot. But no, it literally is just losing so many matches that the exact definition starts off with when a wrestler's stock begins to fall. Because they lost so many matches, or just not involved in many, or just involved in bad storylines is what this is called. Well, fuck. He lost fucking 44 out of 50. I don't know what... 6 more losses, guys, and he's literally the equivalent to what the Brooklyn Brawler was back in the day. I don't know how much more buried you guys needed him to get before you just said what it was. And then Triple H has to start the resurrection period. But, guys, buried was far before last Monday. Far before him actually going to an open challenge and cashing in and then losing 2 minutes later. That whole botch. Way before that, Austin was buried. BC was just telling you, I hope they resurrect this kid soon. I mean, you have to dig him out of the grave. But it's just hilarious when people that don't know the term or don't know what the word buried means and they try to be smart and they go around saying, especially this morning, right? See, everyone? He was never buried. Papa H knew what he was doing. Well, Papa H learned a harsh lesson if you gauge the beginning of this show. I've never heard a crowd stand up in unison to tell a promoter what they truly thought of a decision. I've never even seen that with Vince McMahon. But I'm going to wrap this up with a bow because I've talked about this so much this week, guys. I like Theory. Am I a fan or was I ever a fan per se? No, and that's only because I'm not a fan of many people, right? I like to keep that circle kind of tight. When I say I'm a fan of something, I'm putting the utmost stock in you. When I say Sasha Banks, Bray Wyatt, MJF, you know, that's when you know BC, there's many reasons, and they check off many boxes. I'm hoping Theory gets there because I'm really big on Theory. I've been, even with the selfie Theory, man. I never understood. There was never a need for a reset. Just because you didn't like the character, okay, understandable. I don't like some characters that you guys like. You guys don't like some that I don't. Believe it or not, there's a lot of people that don't like Sasha Banks. I don't know how that's even possible. But hey, eye of the beholder, right? I hear it all the time with a channel like this. There's people that don't like Bray fucking Wyatt, the only creative mastermind that this company has right now and has for the last 10 years. There's people that don't like him. I understand. But all you had to do, all this was for, guys. Do you guys realize this whole reset was just to get a rage Theory? This was just to get the temper tantrum character. And it gets over at the beginning, no doubt. Because you're seeing a different side of a person, right? And they're going fucking totally mental. They're just going crazy. They're beating the fuck out of people. Of course, that's going to get a pop and that's going to raise interest, right? That's how Becky Lynch became the man when she flipped out on Charlie Flair. And she became the man. And she was going to go over to fucking Ronda Rousey and show everybody, and then it just got derailed. But unless you have consistency with the booking and you give it the proper time, energy, and care, even the man, Becky Lynch, got stale, and people were like, this isn't working. She tried to come back as a fucking heel. people still bitched and complained. She got injured. She's going to come back, probably try to reinvent the man again, and we're going to see if it works. But just because people popped and fucking and everyone's like, Slay, not married, you better hope they have consistency now. I'm going to be hoping. I'm hoping the best for Theory, man. And believe it or not, even though I'm always harsh on him, and for Triple H, I'm hoping the best for WWE, because a better WWE means a better fucking experience for the fans. And then we can start talking way more positively on these shows. I hope those days come. I saw one night of a dude throwing a temper tantrum. That character, that different side, right? I hope there's consistency with this shit, man. I really do. Because all I saw was a guy put down his cell phone, grow out his beard for a week, and throw a temper tantrum. It's the old school rage character. I've seen it time and time again. Of course, it works up front because it's a different side, and people are like, oh shit, he's not fucking around anymore. But I've also seen the majority of those individuals fall to the wayside because the promoter, the bookers, did not follow through. I hope that doesn't happen with Theory. But there was people, I've heard fucking podcasters and journalists claim that people were buried just because they got a name change. Guys, just because they got a name change, I've heard people say in this community, buried instantly. What the fuck? If Social was around back in the day and they had 140 characters to speak their fucking mind, Kane would have never fucking worked according to these schmucks, right? According to fucking them, a name change alone can bury somebody. I've heard podcasters and journalists actually use the term they're buried because of a name change. Could you imagine if they said that with fake... Glenn Jacobs was the fake Diesel. Buried. That's what you would have said. Isaac Yankem is what Glenn Jacobs then became. A fucking evil, demented dentist named Isaac Yankem, DDS. Second burial, right? What? Did they make 2 graves for him? And then he became Kane, to what many people call legendary. With what him and the Undertaker were able to accomplish together, especially. But I mean, if you claim that Papa Shango was a fucking burial, I loved Papa Shango, but then you got the Godfather. I mean, that's a reset, right? That's a real reset. Papa Shango to the Godfather, right? Demolition Smash to the Repo Man. Husky Harris to fucking The Fiend. Those are resets. I mean, this was just setting the phone down, growing your beard out for a week to look like you're different, and then throwing the temper tantrum rage character. I didn't get what I wanted, and nobody knows my stress, and now I'm going to fucking just unleash. Right? We've seen that from the beginning of the time, and we'll continue to see that. That's a staple in pro wrestling. I'm fine with it. But that reset could have been done. Now, I think what happened is now we're all seeing that when it was all said and done, and we're happy for Theory, and we hope that this stays consistent, I think we're all seeing that what we originally thought was correct. We could have gotten to the same place a billion different ways that would have been a billion times more creative and not embarrassed Theory, not just buried him. He was already buried. The losses just mounted up too much. But to embarrass him on top just before the reset, and then you have people going, well, no, BC, it worked so good because it had to happen this way. No, you're not understanding. Just because you will accept it and you'll forget everything that happened in the past, or you'll think it doesn't matter, doesn't mean people like BC are going to forget it or not think it matters. It matters because it didn't just devalue Theory and anything else involved with that whole concept last week. Even worse, it made me view Money in the Bank totally differently. It totally made Money in the Bank become a farce. And it already was with the James Ellsworth and Carmella shit. And then you have the boombox Brock. Brock just shows up in the fucking match, collects the fucking thing. You can't really... In a bunch of other fucking situations too, actually, now that I think about it. Money in the Bank had to be done 2 separate fucking matches. You guys remember? Was that the Ellsworth shit? There's been so many botches with Money in the Bank. And then this one is just... This should never happen ever again in the future. Never, never, never go for a fucking mid-card title, man. You wanted to do a reset with my boy Theory. That's great. Come on, bro. That was not the way. So that's the cold open. I just want to put a bow on this. I don't want to fucking discuss this in this type of detail ever again. This whole week I have fucking talked about it. It still is baffling to me. Here we are on the following Tuesday morning, and it still is baffling about how this all went down. And it was all just for the theory we got last night, which is just rage, temper, tantrum theory. Okay. That's gonna flame out, guys. You can't do that every week, obviously. You're eventually gonna have to get creative, and then we're gonna see is Triple H really fucking swimming with this guy, or is he gonna fucking put another anchor on him like Vince did and fucking watch him sink? It's just frustrating that this is where we got to. And if you guys are curious on how I feel about his whole speech on why he cashed in last week, I'll get to it right now in my review. That was a 20-minute fucking cold open. So let's get rocking, man. I really want to just roll through this if you don't mind, because I want more coffee. Seth Rollins starts the show. He brings up Austin Theory's failed cash-in, and the crowd completely breaks out into a "this is stupid. This is stupid." Or was it that was stupid? Maybe it was that. That was stupid. That was stupid. And guys, it was loud. Seth Rollins had to stop his promo. And Triple H is feet away in Gorilla. Right through that curtain is called Gorilla. And that's where Triple H hears everything. And that was so monstrous, man. That was stupid. Boom. And it went on. Rollins was kind of razzled by it. He didn't know what to really say. So all he could come up with was, I'm sure he'll be out here later and you can address that with him. That was a perfect opportunity for Rollins to do something kind of witty. I'm sure it caught him off guard. Rollins has been in that company for years and years under Vince McMahon, and McMahon has made so many bad choices. We understand. They've never been bad enough to where the whole crowd stood up and told the promoter what they thought about a decision. That was fucking rattling, bro. I have never, and BC will say this wholeheartedly, man, I have never been more proud to be a fan than at that moment, and to have this channel at that moment. Everything that I preach, that crowd screamed loudly so the man of 3 H's could hear it. It was like, not that I need validation, because these days I feel like I'm the only podcaster and person in this fucking biz that says what needs to be said. I really feel that I'm the last of the bunch to really stay true to what needs to be said. And when I heard that crowd speak out in unison, man, it was vindication. It was validation. Not that I need it, but it was the old fucking wow, BC. Your words matter, man, and it, you know, you're not alone. I think that's a cool thing. Sometimes, you see what fans are. You see what fans, and I use that loosely. Like they're just okay with everything. Oh, don't worry, it's going to lead to this, so it's better. Oh, don't worry, he can lose 116 matches in a row. He's not buried. Watch, they're going to give him a rocket soon. Okay, that just means they're digging you out of the burial. You're already buried, brah. But fans today, it's just so different than BC's standards and where I set my bar. I mean, today's fans set the bar so low. Their standards are so low. And it was just really cool to know that there's still people that understand like right from wrong and things that can never be done again. Now this same crowd chanted "This is awesome" for 2 to 3 different matches later in the night. I hate that fucking, just like I hate the word buried. I actually don't like using that word because we all as a community use it in the wrong places and we use it all the time for everybody. Like I just told you guys a few minutes ago, people use buried for name changes. Oh, buried. They got their name changed. Never going to work. I mean, we just throw that word around left and right, but no, I also hate the term "this is awesome" because we say it for every good match, and it's no longer for the awesome matches like Michaels Undertaker, WrestleMania 25, and a bunch of others that you guys can name that were literally awesome. So this crowd did let me down a couple of times, man, but you get into it. You feel like these days you feel like when there's a lot of action and then they just lay there and they actually fucking sell properly. There's a concept. I was glad to see that a couple times. Then the crowd feels like they should be doing something these days. We got to chant something. This is awesome. Because they saw some good sequences. But just to start the show like that and let Triple H know, that's a valuable lesson. And I really hope that Triple H learned it and that we can all move on. Hopefully Theory gets a rocket from here because he should have anyway. Whether he's got a cell phone in his hand or not. This is not that big of a fucking character. He put the cell phone down, and he's throwing the temper tantrum now. It's not that big of a character change, guys. You're not doing Demolition Smash to Repo Man. You're not doing Husky Harris to the Fiend, and you're not doing Glenn Jacobs' Isaac Yankem to Kane. It's not that big. It's temper tantrum. The guy just had enough, and he's throwing a temper tantrum. We've seen it a billion fucking times. We could have gotten to that place a billion different ways, more creatively, and it wouldn't have tarnished the Money in the Bank concept and make everybody look so foolish. It's an open challenge. Nobody wanted it. He didn't even address that in his excuses later. I'll get to that. But that was so awesome to hear that crowd chant, "That was stupid." And Triple H, man, his face backstage would have been priceless. Theory didn't even start the show, man. He didn't come out to confront Rollins, nothing, man. H could not be bothered, right? H wanted to stuff him in the middle of the show and hope that people just kind of forget about it a little bit. Oh, did he learn harshly? Lashley comes out instead, not Theory. Lashley comes out. Then Ali with a referee, and they brawl. Ali and Bobby Lashley just brawl. We go to and Rollins just sneaks away, guys. This is supposed to be a face. Rollins just kind of sneaks away, and Lashley and Ali are kind of brawling. We go to commercial. We come back from commercial, and we have a match between Bobby Lashley and Ali again. This all just led to Bobby Lashley and Ali. Rollins again snuck to the back. Hope that no one noticed. BC noticed. And Rollins, to me, is just not a face. I don't know how many times I got to say that, man. Rollins just doesn't come to... I know he's supposed to be a face now. That's the whole shtick that I guess we're going. Everyone's singing his song. Oh. He just doesn't come across as a face to BC. He's not doing all the face things. And you say, well, that's what's unique about him, BC. The character is a heel. What he plays is a heel. Otherwise, he just looks like he's lost in translation, like he doesn't know. Rollins seems to be a confused character. And we're all confused in the process. Just last week, he was berating the fans. He was berating the fans like a heel would do. And then he's telling everyone to keep singing his song. This week, he sneaks away like a heel would do. He wants no part of this, and he runs away. It's just weird what Rollins is, guys. But my point is this. When it was all said and done, Lashley defeats Ali via the Hurt Lock, and the segment was over. No continuing storyline. This isn't a story. We're just seeing the same people just beat each other up and have matches. My point is, this is VKM booking, man. You want to praise Triple H all you want. That's fine, man. But let's not lie. This is how a Vince McMahon show would have started. Rollins says some words. A couple people come out. Rollins runs away, and those people have a match. Match ends. Nothing continues, no cliffhangers, let's move on. Okay, if you don't think that's that much different than Vince, all right, bro, let's lie and just say this show is fucking amazing then, and we'll see if the ratings back up your claims. Backstage, Mia Yim tells Kathy Kelly that her new name, her nickname is Mechen. I think it's Mechen. And she tells Kelly that it's a nickname. Don't worry, I'm still Mia Yim, but it's just a nickname. And it means, I don't know, you guys can go see what it means. I didn't put that in the fucking notes because I was just baffled that we're doing another nickname. Because Sarah Logan just gave herself a fucking new nickname, right? I don't know if it's going to be her actual name or a nickname, but her nickname is Val Halen. I called her Van Halen in yesterday's fucking video. She's not the rock band Van Halen. Val Halen. is what Sarah Logan's nickname is. Now you have fucking Michin for Mia Yim. Why is everyone getting fucking nicknames? What are we putting? Are we putting together a Super Force team to take out the DC Comics? Are we putting together a team to take out the Powerpuff Girls? Why does everyone have a nickname? Valhallen, Michin. Candice LeRae's gonna come back. That's fucking Diddlesticks. I don't even know what we're doing anymore with these nicknames. It's almost like Vince McMahon and Paul Levesque are meeting over coffee or fucking vodka shots. Who the fuck knows? But they're meeting and they're arguing over what the name should be, right? Vince is like, nah, you gotta give them new names. And Triple H is like, no, man, everyone's gonna know you're still my daddy. Can I give them both names? What if I keep their real names and give them your names? All right, but I want to see Michin. Then I want to see Valhallen. I mean, it's almost like they can't decide, and Vince McMahon is fucking trying to call the shots, and H is fucking like, no, you told me I could do it. I don't know why we're doing these fucking nicknames, man. What are we doing, huh? Anyway, Mia Yim, she's looking so good, by the way, man. She's looking, I mean, she just looks good. She looks happy. She looks rocking. I hope Triple H really does give her the time of day. I don't like the way that she debuted last week because it just nobody gave a fuck. And it's like H is just parading all of these people back and he's not thinking it through. Like, can we make it special? You guys know I'm right, and you know I'm high on Mia Yim. I'm high on Dexter Lumis, Johnny Wrestling, everybody that's coming back. And they just don't feel special, man. Or they're in weird shit. I don't think I think he's panicking and he's just overwhelmed. But he's just throwing people back to show people that he's in charge, like pulling a power card or something. Are you really in charge? Do you really know what you're doing? You know, and even last night, nobody gave a fuck about what was happening with Mia Yim. You can't really blame them. She was in there with Tamina. That's not a knock. That's not any shade. They haven't made Tamina special since she's gotten to the roster, let's be honest. Mia Yim versus Tamina. Dominik and Rhea Ripley are at ringside because they're trying to recruit Mia Yim for their War Games team. Or no, that wasn't why. That was Damage Control that was trying to recruit. So Dominik and Rhea are at ringside because I forget what the fuck. Why are they at ringside? Well, Rhea Ripley ended up joining forces with Damage Control backstage anyway for War Games. So Rhea and Mia, I guess, have something. I forgot. I don't know. I'm still baffled by everything by that point. They were at ringside. Mia, an audible, guys. Oh, bask in his glory. Oh, bask in his glory. The Keith Lee chant rained out during Mia Yim's short match with Tamina. I always felt bad for AJ Lee when she got the CM Punk chants because I felt AJ Lee's work should stand on its own. And her matches were good enough, and she deserved more respect than just to get CM Punk chants. It's sad that people don't care about this Mia Yim yet, that they're just like bringing up Keith Lee's old chant. You know, that I did feel bad for Mia Yim, just like I used to for AJ Lee. Mia, thankfully, makes quick work out of Tamina, pinning her in just under 3 minutes, so those chants would be diminished. And backstage, again, they did this little thing where Damage Control was trying to recruit Mia Yim to their team for War Games, and instead Mia Yim would choose Asuka, Alexa, and Bianca Belair, the faces. We'll go over that a little bit into the second or third hour. Hour number one ends with Matt Riddle versus Chad Gable. This was a tag match originally. It was supposed to be Elias and Matt Riddle versus Alpha Academy, but it looks like Elias was punished because Elias was one of those people, just like Corey Graves and a lot of people, that they kind of were. They spoke out publicly how baffled they were. Corey Graves even said frustrated when he watched it about what happened to Theory last week. And Elias was a guest on the Bump show for WWE, and he was like, well, wait, not only was it bizarre, but doesn't it not make sense because it was an open challenge as well? So not only is he diminishing the briefcase and the match and himself, but it was also a stupid decision because it was an open challenge. And maybe Elias was fucking punished. We don't know, man. We'll find out more info. Maybe he just had a prior commitment, but isn't it fucking ironic? And then you hear Corey Graves last night on commentary. This dude could not suck the fucking Triple H schlong any more than he was last night. So you could tell Corey Graves was in the doghouse last night. But this was no longer a tag match. Hours before, they took Elias out of this thing. Riddle comes to the ring on his scooter and now with bongos around his neck. So he's riding on a scooter with bongos, but playing the bongo with a 420 t-shirt. Yeah, I mean, could they make this guy into any more of a goof? Because he is a goof. And I like Matt Riddle. Serious Matt Riddle is best for business. Like, if you're going to put Riddle into like a War Games or a cage match, man, you're hoping you're not going to have him riding down on a scooter with bongos. I mean, this dude. And you want to talk about looking like a fucking goof. Gable defeats Riddle. Otis held Gable's feet on the rope. Or, I'm sorry, Otis held Gable's feet on the ropes for added leverage off of a backslide. And Riddle just eats an L. Now, first of all, I want to say congrats to Alpha Academy. I think that, or at least Chad Gable. I think that's 2 victories in a row, guys. The fucking sky is falling, right? What a crazy concept to give somebody 2 victories in a row with a talent like Chad Gable. Wins and losses matter, guys. People are taking inventory of this, even if it's subconsciously, which is why we called Austin Theory buried. I hope we're getting it now, man. 2 wins in a row for Gable. What? On the flip side, now you just have a goofy losing Matt Riddle. They don't know what the fuck to do with him. Randy Orton went out with the back injury. They tried to insert Elias and form like a rock concert team. Elias gets the boot for punishment, maybe. Who knows? And then in its place, fucking, they're just like, oh, just go out there and eat an L. Get rolled up. Get a backslide. We'll have Otis hold down Gable, and hey, the heels did their thing. I don't know, man. And then hour 1 actually ended. It wasn't with that match. It was actually a backstage segment. JBL and Baron Corbin are playing poker with Ninja Tozawa, guys. Now, I don't mind this if it leads to something really special. They used to play poker back in the day, the APA, Protection Agency. It was JBL and Ron Simmons. Damn! And they would play poker, and storylines would stem from that poker table. People would request their services. There would be a brawl over the poker table. It would be fun. So I was like, okay, I'll give this a chance. When it was all said and done, guys, it was just to lead to a fucking match between Baron Corbin and Ninja Tozawa. I can't even make this up. They had something there, and they couldn't even fucking follow through with it. Triple H could not be bothered to give us something entertaining. So instead, we get the start of hour number 2, Miz TV. Miz delivers an apology essay to Dexter Lumis, basically painting him out to be the victim, right? Miz is the victim. You don't know the pressure that he's under and this and that. So Johnny Gargano comes to the ring. I think he did not have his whistle last night, hopefully. I forgot to even check, but I don't know what the fuck kind of character they were trying to give him with a whistle. But I know if The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, was around, he would tell Johnny Gargano where to stick that whistle. So Gargano comes out and he calls The Miz a liar. They go back and forth for like several minutes. And the crowd is like basically in their snuggies at this point with a warm cup of hot chocolate ready for nappy time. I mean, they're literally telling each other bed stories in the crowd. They could not give a fuck about this. Can't even blame them. They go back and forth. It culminates in Johnny telling Miz that in 2 weeks, he and Lumis will be in a match. Dexter versus Miz. And if Lumis wins, he gets paid the money that Miz owes him, and he gets a WWE contract. I love how that worked. Johnny just went to management, he says. Well, I mean, Triple H does like him. I think he still likes him. I mean, I don't know what kind of character H is giving Johnny Wrestling, but I mean, putting him in this fucking weird Miz shit. Does Triple H truly like Johnny Wrestling anymore? I don't know. Don't worry, we'll have a reset. If not, basically, in 27 weeks, we'll get a reset after he loses 26 matches. So Lumis and Miz finds out he's going to have a match with Lumis in 2 weeks. And if he loses, he's got to pay him his money. Wow, thank goodness we stayed around for 3 months for this fucking story. If Lumis was disguised as a cameraman in the ring, but Miz is able to easily run away from him. So the whole dressed up as a cameraman thing was a complete waste. The whole point to go through the process of dressing up like a cameraman is to fucking do some damage on Miz. You let him just run away? And you were in the ring the whole time? No, basically it was just to prove a point, man. I had you right there, Miz. Oh, man. Then why did he try to get him? I don't know, man. You're not supposed to speak logic and common sense, basically. Crowd just did not take to any of this. I can't say that loud enough or enough. The crowd didn't take to any of it, and I do not blame them. I love Johnny Wrestling, man. I really do. Not love, but I like the dude a lot. I mean, he's a good wrestler. He's great at comedy. He checks off a lot of boxes. I don't mind Johnny Wrestling. And Dexter Lumis, I'm very high on. This story had promise at the beginning, I thought. And over the last month, it has just taken a very odd, bizarre, downward spiral trajectory. And I'm just glad that we have an end date, hopefully, for in 2 weeks. Hopefully, this thing is fucking squashed out. Let's go back to the drawing board, H. Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley back out at ringside for Dominik versus Shelton Benjamin. Just over 4 minutes, Dominik wins via the frog splash. That was it. That's all I have in my note. That's all that happened, guys. That's what I mean. I thought that afterwards, when Damian, Rhea, and Dominik were holding their hands up to the hard cam, something was going to happen, right? Nothing. End of the segment. How the fuck does that get people excited for Judgment Day, for Dominik, for anybody? I always say, back in the day, when wrestlers would take on jobbers, you didn't even have Superstar A versus Superstar B, like here, Dominik versus Shelton. You had the Mountie versus fucking Doug Schnitzelwitz. Right? And Schnitzelwitz came from the local bingo hall, and people were captivated because the Mountie beat the fuck out of this dude, and then afterwards, something happened. Or it's the big boss man, and all of a sudden, Nails comes down to the ring. Or fucking Rick Rude is doing something to the Warrior afterwards. Or Macho Man attacks Jake Roberts afterwards and fucking bites him with his cobra snake. Something was always happening back in the day to set things up and to gain your interest at all times. Here, you just have Dominik win, hard cam pose, and let's move on. I don't have nothing creative, is what H is telling you. Now, backstage, middle of hour number 2. This is just after 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. Austin Theory cuts a backstage interview with Kathy Kelly, a pre-tape, by the way, because they wanted this thing to be pristine. Austin Theory, and I like this dude. He is never this good on the mic. This was a pre-tape, guys. So this was probably done 12 times. Who knows? But he cuts this pre-tape. He couldn't do this in the ring because this would have never come off, man. This is Triple H trying to retrace those fucking tracks now, man. He's backpedaling. Paul Levesque is backpedaling now, man. He's like, we're going to do this in a pre-tape. And he literally comes up with the lamest excuses imaginable. He says, and I quote, "I was never going to beat Roman Reigns. There was always going to be somebody there to prevent it. And nobody knows the pressure, so I did what I did." First of all, that's no doubt that's true. Booking-wise, that's true, right? We know that Roman was never going to lose any of his fucking titles to Theory. That's not the point. He shouldn't be saying it. He's the talent. Nobody wants their pro wrestler to say, "I was never going to win anyway, so I went for the consolation prize." I'm still fucking baffled by Wardlow in AEW, claiming he doesn't want to enter the fucking interim championship tournament because he wants to be the first to take on CM Punk and get it the right way. He didn't understand. The person who wins the tournament gets to be the first person to take on CM Punk when he gets back. That's the whole point. Yes, you're an interim champion in the process, but you get to be the first one to become the actual champ when Punk gets back. And Wardlow's like, "No thanks, I'm going to be the mid-card title holder." So he goes for the TNT championship. To this day, I'm baffled. That's when I say, when BC says my bar is so high, I literally mean my bar is so high. I don't forget that shit. And it's going to help or hurt the way that I view individuals. Because I put believability into what I'm watching. Or I want it to be in a realistic factor and institution. That's where it should be coming from. A realistic institution. And if you can't fucking give us that, then you shouldn't be in the position you're in. I said that about Wardlow. I'm going to say it here. I don't want to hear you, the talent, tell us that you never were going to beat Roman. I never even conceived the thought of me winning. So, you know what? I said I'm going for Rollins. And he never addressed. He talked about being under pressure. And he said what we all said during the fucking week. Or all the excuses that everybody was coming up with as to why this was done. He just recited all of it. The Money in the briefcase was holding me down because I was the golden chosen one, and I'm never going to beat Roman anyway, and the pressure got to me, and I cracked, and he didn't even go to that. He didn't even mention, guys. He didn't even mention the fact that it was an open challenge. I mean, at that point, would it be any fucking worse if he just said, you know what, I made a huge mistake because I was caught up in the moment. The adrenaline was kicking in. I meant that I was accepting the open challenge. I fucking accidentally gave the ref the fucking briefcase and said ring the bell. The whole time, I was going for the open challenge. I want my briefcase back, please. You could make a whole fucking story of that. Now he's fucking ruthless. He's doing the same thing. He's throwing the temper tantrum. He's the rage theory, and he wants that shit back. Of course, he ain't gonna get it. But you could have thought of a million ways. If this is just what you're gonna do, you're totally not even gonna mention the fact that it was an open challenge. You're gonna hide that, but you're going to admit that you never were gonna beat Roman. So why even try? And then we're supposed to believe that you're badass by the end of the night when you just admitted you were too fucking scared shitless and you didn't have the fucking confidence to cash in on fucking Roman. And now what? You all of a sudden have it because you didn't even beat Dolph Ziggler last night. Anyway, you do this thing where there's a bunch of excuses. And Dolph Ziggler comes in. This was hilarious. Ziggler comes in after the whole heartfelt excuse after excuse interview and reasoning for what was done last week. Dolph comes up and he's like, literally, he's like, worst cash in ever. He goes, and I should know, I'm in the club, but that was the worst ever. He says, all I am hearing from you is excuses. He literally says, if I had a traffic ticket, I would call you to get me out of it. Dolph Ziggler calling him out on all the bullshit excuses, man. Call it what it was. It was an embarrassment. It was great. So then Theory says, well, I'm confident enough to beat you in a match later tonight. So this sets up a match between Austin Theory and Dolph Ziggler for later in the night. Corey Graves trying to get back in 3H's good graces, man. This, he literally says, Corey Graves goes, this may have benefited this kid. Well, outright, the fucking reset booking obviously is going to reignite anything done in the past for Austin Theory. I mean, if you're judging it just on last night, of course that's going to be better than anything given to Austin Theory. I'm looking for consistency. I want Corey Graves to keep up this same fucking energy in 3, 4, 5 months, brah. I want that same fucking energy. This may have benefited. This is the same guy, Corey Graves, that this week talked about how furious he was when he fucking watched that live. And he was commentating that shit. You know he got yelled at. He's in the doghouse, bro. If you listen to the match between Theory and Ziggler, listen to Corey Graves the whole match. It was nauseating how much he was sucking Triple H's schlong, bro. It was nauseating. I'm like, this is the same. I mean, to see the backpedaling, to see this dude tuck his tail between his legs, and I get it. He's got to keep his job, and he probably got punished by Triple H. I get it. But wow, man, he could have taken a breath and get H's fucking schlong out of his mouth. It was nauseating, man. I'll get to that coming up in hour 3. No, that came up next, didn't it, guys? Was that? Oh, no. Next was Iyo Sky defeating Dana Brooke. Yeah. Because it's Triple H, man. Why not? You know, I love Iyo Sky. I said before, I'm not a fan of many people because I like to hold stock in the word fan of. I'm absolutely a fan of Iyo Shirai, Iyo Sky. Second best female wrestler today alive. I still feel that way, even though the past several months, she's not being booked correctly. She's not being given the matches that'll show what she can do. And right here, she defeats Dana Brooke. Iyo Sky defeats Brooke via the over-the-moonsault. Post-match, Mia Yim hits the top of the ramp and says that she is joining Bianca Belair, Asuka, and Alexa Bliss at Survivor Series for War Games. And then afterwards, Rhea Ripley just shows up to Damage Control and says, I'll fight with ya. And that was it. Because Triple H cannot be bothered to do this creatively, so they just fucking threw this together with fucking 15 days away from Survivor Series. In the men's side, that still has to be decided this Friday, we think. Kevin Owens might be injured, so now they have to scramble for that. And we're going to get a finalized men's fucking match just 1 week before the actual card. And when you scramble like this to get to a pay-per-view, you wonder why people cannot care or give a fuck. Backstage, Ninja Tozawa beats Baron Corbin in poker. Beats him in poker, and then he says, I want a match with you later in the night. That was it. And then in hour number 3, Ninja Tozawa took on Baron Corbin. Can't make it up. We'll talk about that. Oh, that'll be exciting in just a few minutes when we get to hour number 3. But first, hour number 1 ends with Austin Theory versus Dolph Ziggler. The crowd chanted, "That was stupid," right from the jump of the match. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean. This should have never been a part of the plan. I'm not going to rehash it. You guys know how I feel about it. The burial was done, and now you just have to try to dig him out of the fucking burial. And for last night, there's signs of life, right? Signs of life. Will he remain out of that fucking grave? Now the real work begins for Austin Theory. But for last night, you started this match off with "that was stupid," and then this is why BC says it was so bad. It was because people will remember this. It's not like it's just going to go away just because they start booking him better and he's no longer going to be buried. People are going to remember this. BC will always remember this, man. It'll always be attached to his name. And they didn't have to do that last week. Again, I keep rehashing because I'm still baffled. Theory versus Ziggler. Corey Graves working double time to get back into 3H's good graces, as I said earlier. This whole match, the level of dick sucking and backtracking was nauseating from Corey Graves. He even says, Corey Graves says, and I quote, "Look at Baron Corbin. He failed, and look at him now." Does somebody want to tell this dude? Does somebody want to tell Corey Graves where Baron Corbin is right now in the graces of the fucking fans? How nobody gives a flying fuck about this guy? And let's not act like Corbin's cash-in was anything near the level of tragic that Theory's was. That's what I mean. Corey Graves was just nauseating last night. It was bad, but you could tell he's in the doghouse. He got punished. He's probably like the guy who just cheated on his wife. And the mistress, the girl that he cheated on his wife with, she left her panties somewhere in the house. And the guy doesn't know where. He got the phone call, "My panties are in your house." "What? My wife's coming home in 2 hours." And now he's trying to fucking suck up to his wife, take her out to dinner, fucking put her on the patio with a nice fucking martini. Just stay away from the inside the house until I find those panties, please. You know what I mean? Corey Graves is trying to find the fucking panties right now. He's in the doghouse, and his commentary was nauseating. Theory loses again. There's no way to put it. He taps into the temper tantrum. This is what we thought was going to happen. This is the bare minimum of booking for Triple H. The reset was just rage Theory. It's the same thing we've seen with so many wrestlers over the years. They need a tweak. It's not even a reset. It's a tweak. And they just go into a tantrum. "I'm in a rage, and I'm just going to fight and beat everyone up. I don't even care about wins and losses." They really had no other choice, right? I mean, you lost 44 out of your last 50. Yeah, you better not care about wins and losses. But we do. So Dolph Ziggler's taking this guy to task. I thought they were going to come out with like Super Theory. At least they didn't do that, right? And just beat Dolph in like a minute, and all of a sudden he's a Super Cena. No, they had a match. And what's ironic, guys, because I do remember this shit. I am Mr. Statistics. Of the 6 matches out of his last 50 that Theory won, Dolph Ziggler, he was in the ring with Dolph Ziggler 3 of those victories. So how funny, or did Ziggler actually beat him? I think it was Ziggler that beated Theory. Again, this is not your fault, Sasha. I didn't think about this up front, so I did not tell you to queue it up in advance. My bad. I will just take 1 second, hopefully. Oh, no, that's not it. All right, that would be better if I had that. This is actually kind of funny if I can get this up, guys. So if you want to give me 1 fucking second, that'd be great. All right, so here it is. So, yeah, Theory defeated Ziggler. 3 out of his last 6 fucking victories were against Dolph Ziggler. And that was way back, if you're asking yourself, that was back in August. It was a Sunday Stunner, and it was a Saturday night's main event, and then a Monday Night Raw, all collectively. And in his only other 2 victories since August was Mustafa Ali and Shelton Benjamin. That was it. He lost again every other match. Dolph Ziggler's beating him. Kevin Owens several times. Seth Rollins, several times. Matt Riddle, Johnny Gargano, Lashley, Drew McIntyre, Gargano, a lot of these guys several times. Rey Mysterio, Dawkins, Madcap Moss, Ford, everybody you can think of. AJ Styles. I said Madcap Moss a couple of times. So my point is 3 of those times were actually against Ziggler. So this was literally Triple H knowing that he had to do this pristinely, man. Cut out all the excuses in a pre-tape backstage, then put him in the ring with a really good wrestler like Ziggler, so he's got to have a good match so fans will stop the bad chants like that was stupid at the start of the match, and hopefully going into it, this is awesome, right? H knew that he had to have a match with somebody like Ziggler because Ziggler puts everybody over because Dolph Ziggler is fucking amazing, and it's criminal the way he's been booked for a decade. But anyway, when it was all said and done, Ziggler took him to task so much that Theory was like, I can't even beat him with A-Town down. So Theory just takes him outside, beats him up, throws him in the steps, throws him over the barricade, and now he's temper tantrum rage Theory. And everyone's like, what? Now, a couple of things here. First of all, Patrick has to know what an A-Town down is. Kevin Patrick, or whatever the fuck this dude's name is. He called that tilt-a-whirl bomb. He called it an A-Town down. And then a couple moves later, the A-Town down, and he goes, now the A-Town down. You gotta know their finishers, and I can't even blame them. These days, BC doesn't even know half this roster's finishers because everything is a fruit roll-up these days. Maybe not as much as back in the day, but I'm still trying to, finishers don't feel special these days. But he does have to learn them if you're going to be the lead commentator for a show like Monday Night Raw. And secondly, they actually piped in boos. They piped in boos for Austin Theory. Triple H actually went as far. He knew he was in his own doghouse. Triple H had piped in boos. I almost said boobs. Piped in boobs. Well, Stephanie does have piped in boobs, so... But listen, guys, go back and watch this. Okay, when Theory's already through the curtain, he's already off the staging. He's already done. I'm not a kid. I'm a man. I'm Austin Theory. And he goes to the back. And they cut backstage to Baron Corbin and JBL walking down the through the hallway, and the boos remained at an even keel level, which means it's not realistic, right? Like when a wrestler's already through the curtain, you start to hear the boos mingle and definitely tone down 9 notches out of 10, but you start to hear a mingling of it. The boos, they accidentally kept the boos at a consistent fucking octane level while Theory was already gone. And then all of a sudden, right before commercial, you hear the boos stop. He piped them in. The bastard knew how big this botch was. Hey, at least he understands how big it was. At least Triple H knows how big of a botch it was and that he needed to redeem this kid huge. It should have been at the beginning of the show, by the way. Instead, no. Triple H is too fucking stubborn, just like the old bastard in Stamford, Connecticut was. His father-in-law, VKM. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and Triple H is stubborn, man. And he wasn't even going to let him win this match. He lost this match via DQ. He collected another L. He could have easily just won the match after 3 A-Town downs and then beat the fuck out of Dolph afterwards. No, H isn't going to do that. For those of you that missed the last couple of videos, I'm going to say this real quick again. A lot of people think that Austin Theory is a Triple H guy. He's not. He brought him into NXT, no doubt. When Vince McMahon said, I want people, there was a list that H said, please don't take. He gladly handed over Austin Theory with a cherry on top. And then when McMahon just didn't have anything up front, what he had originally for Theory just wasn't clicking. He went back to NXT. The second time, with the quickness, Triple H brought him right back over to Vince. No, you take him. And if you need any more confirmation, look at the accolades that Austin Theory achieved in NXT. You don't have any, do you? Exactly. You don't have a top 5 list. You don't have a top 3 list. You can't list all of the titles that he's held. There's so many and great reigns. No. Absolutely not. He was never actually looked on that highly from H, and that's why he gladly handed him over to Vince twice on a platter. And that's why when H took control, Austin Theory was not a priority. It was basically, we'll get to you, kid. Just keep eating L's, and eventually we're going to take the briefcase out of you. It'll be probably suddenly, and then we'll do something with you. We'll fucking, you can cut the cell phone out of it, and you can throw the temper tantrum, and then maybe we'll have something for you after that. That's what happened, guys. But at least he fucking knows how bad he fucked up on that. You know, that's half the battle. Now it's just about correcting that and making sure you never do that again. But Austin Theory loses this match, which means he is 44 losses out of 50. That's a rough record. I don't even want to speak more on it, man. I was baffled by that whole thing. In hour number 3, I just put limited notes. Baron Corbin defeated Ninja Tozawa. Everybody was back in their snuggies, getting read a bedtime story again with a warm cup of hot cocoa, because nobody gave a fuck. Rollins then defeats Balor in the main event. The U.S. title feels so fucking lame. They're making that the new world title, and it is failing. Or they're making it act. They're acting like it's the world title because Roman Reigns doesn't want to work Mondays. Barely wants to work Fridays. It's not fun. There's no care for the U.S. title. It's just matches for no fucking reason. And everybody will go, this is awesome, and then the show will end, and we'll be like, oh, okay. This Theory comes out at the end, and he destroys Rollins holding up the U.S. title. What the fuck? All of this, and he's still just holding up the U.S. title. He's still just holding that up. Like, I'm gonna get it one way or the other, man. With or without a briefcase, man. Again, I like Theory. I want the best for him. I hope the best for him going forward. I'm glad that this was the process to get him out of the burial. But I can't put stock into Triple H's booking because it's been so horrible. I will have to see. Time will tell. But I just know that when this was all said and done, that was the reset. The same lame excuses that we've all been regurgitating in the wrestling community the whole week. I'll never beat Roman anyway. I just went for this. And then he just has a match, good match. He loses via DQ because he's snapped. And then he just comes out and he holds up the same title that fucking started this whole botch 7 days ago. I don't know, guys. This show is in such shambles. Is it a little better than Vince's shows? Maybe, right? At the beginning, did I say it definitely was? I don't know, man. Yes, man. I guess because of some faces got to come back and some names came back, even though now they have nicknames that I got to try to fucking remember. I don't know if it's better than Vince's. It's not by a lot is what I am saying. It's not by a lot at all. I mean, these shows just don't serve purpose, and they don't get me excited for the pay-per-view that's upcoming, whatever it is. This time it's Survivor Series in less than 2 weeks, and it doesn't get me needing to tune in next week. There's no cliffhangers or anything awesome. There's not several storylines. There's not even one, but there should be several that keep me coming back every week. There's nothing that I would need to tune in next week to. And I know I'm not alone in this. I know you guys are the same, and that this has to get better, man. I'm glad that we can finally stop this fucking Theory shit for now, unless he goes right back into just befuddling booking, and then I'm going to be like, wow, we're already fucking 50-50ing Austin Theory? We're already doing that? But until that happens, I just want to fucking put a cap on that situation, just put a bow on it, put a cherry on it. Let's push that aside. Let's bury this whole fucking thing and hope that everybody has learned from this. Triple H. 3 H's. And that's the show. I can't say I liked it. I can't say I enjoyed it. I can't say that it makes me tune in next week. I'm going to out of habit and hope, but I can't say that this show did any favors for Survivor Series. This show did nothing for me. If it did for you, awesome. I just can't get to the point to lower my standards or my bar. And I refuse to. Now, I'm going to get a fucking coffee. Much love and respect to you guys. If I can go live later, I definitely will try, even if it's just for a half an hour. We'll go over a couple of stories maybe. That there's a little bit of a window later that I might be able to shoot the shit with you guys. But until next time, Top Guy and I am out. BC saying check you. No music, Sasha. We have to go get coffee. Check you.